Welcome to the Ascension Path with Twin Essence. I'm Lacey.
And I'm Marley, and we're your Starseed Lightworker and Psychic Medium hosts.
We're identical twins with spiritual abilities and Starseed missions on Earth. On the Ascension Path, we discuss what it's like to be identical twins serving in a spiritual capacity and provide insights into our work as Starseeds. We create a sacred space to receive channeled messages, intuitive teachings, and expansive conversations that elevate your frequency and support your evolution. Join us to learn about navigating the path to Ascension and becoming the most authentic, aligned version of you. Take what resonates and leave the rest. Welcome. We are going to dive right into the Regulus Star within the Leo constellation today. And we are very excited to talk about Regulus Starseeds, as well as channeled Regulus Star beings. Already, they have such a presence and a beautiful energy, but of course, Lacey and I are Leo suns through and through, so we are just really basking in that energy right now.
Yeah, this is a really, really interesting Starseed type that we have not fully worked with yet. So we are really rearing to go when we sat down to record this here because we just love the energy. We love the energy, and I feel like it's easy to say as a Leo sun, maybe, but they bring a very different level of confidence, I feel like, to the session than other star beings maybe do.
Yes, I agree. And what's so interesting is this again is relating to that concept of just because you have a astrological placement doesn't automatically predict your starseed origins and that dominant starseed lineage in your human incarnation. Because for Lacey and I, you know, I'm a Sirian starseed, Lacey's a Lyran starseed, and yes, we're both Leo suns with different birthdays, but it doesn't mean that we're immediately going to be a Regulus Starseed. Now, we could have had lifetimes there. I mean, let's be honest, like with the Leo connection, it's not too far off. But what's so fascinating about this is like right before we were going to record this episode, like as we were waking up today, Lacey started singing Strip That Down, which is, if you're familiar with that song, that's a Liam Payne song. We're huge One Direction fans. And unfortunately, Liam's no longer with us on this earthly plane. Liam has an August birthday and he's a Leo sun, and so I was like, maybe there's a little bit of Regulus Star being energy coming through with that song this morning.
Absolutely. I also just wanted to add that I feel like astrology, like human design gene keys, maybe like numerology, and is it astrocartography? Like all of these different spiritual modalities are fantastic for helping you figure out how to navigate your life and how to guide yourself through different things in your life path, essentially. But I do feel like the starseed lineage is very different from these other modalities, which is why we were talking about how your astrology chart doesn't necessarily predict what your starseed type is going to be. Perfect example, like she said, the two of us here right now. But I do think you will find that your starseed lineage, it often manifests very differently than your astrological signs, so to speak, or your birth chart. And this Leo energy, this Regulus Starseed energy, does come through quite Leo-like, which is an energy we're very familiar with as Leos ourselves.
Not surprising, they're shiny and they're bright, right? They have a presence to them. And so I think it's important to just real quick bring through the colors because that's a really important part that we always talk about. And they, of course, have lion imagery with them. They do, which I think can be easily confused with Lyrans. But this is a different aspect. Lyrans have a very golden pink, divine feminine feel to them, whereas a Regulus Star being channels through as this lion, hints or accents of gold, but there's like a deep blue or a deep green, and they have more of a masculine energy to them. So it's more of this creation, action, integrity, honor coming through.
Absolutely. And they come through very clear in their energy. There is a lot of confidence in how they show up. There's a lot of dominance, but it's not in an offensive way. Like it's a very authoritarian, confident way, and it's quite contagious. It is not like I'm going to intimidate you with my presence and power and energy. It's more of a empowerment tool. Like we want to empower you to feel your biggest, brightest, and best. And I think that's part of how their energy reflects.
It's conviction and it's authority. So the example they bring through right now is It reminds me of when you watch the shows where somebody finds out they had like a lineage, like royal blood or something, and they didn't
Yeah.
know it, and all of a sudden they're being asked to step forward and serve in some way or in some capacity they didn't expect. But they bring it through as most Regulus Starseeds on Earth don't question that lineage. Like they know it and they take it and they honor it and they serve with it. But it's also interesting because that could look different, I think, for every starseed in their human incarnations. There's the end of the spectrum where they know it and they're going to serve with it. And then there's the other end where maybe they were strategically designed on their path to not be placed in power right away, but discover it at a certain point in their life and be called forward at a certain point in their life into it. And of course, the example they give me is Jon Snow from Game of Thrones.
Oh, love me some Jon Snow. But it's a great example of someone who really had a character arc and journey of starting out as the bastard,
Yes.
starting out as the black sheep. Nobody really wanted him, nobody saw value in him. He goes and does his thing, becoming part of the commander of the Night's Watch. And, he's celebrated there for his work there. He can lead, he knows what he's doing, he has his job. He's the White Wolf for a reason. Everybody else back home is like, we don't give a shit what Jon Snow's doing. But it comes back around where he rightfully steps into his power to lead
Yes.
battles for the North.
It's a journey of conviction and authority and finding that and finding the power within. And so that's the example they bring of this spectrum, how we see this manifest within a human incarnation of maybe they designed the path purposefully for the person to have to find that within them. And then once they find it, they have it. It's like this natural leadership ability. It's this yeah, of course, like in my mind, it's like this je ne sais quoi. I don't know this French phrase coming through right now, but it's just this it factor that they have, and you want to follow them. You might not even understand why you want to follow them, but you know they are the leader. Versus the other end of the spectrum where they're born into it, they really can honor it, and they can really serve in that way. So, like, just show you the spectrum of how this can manifest in a human incarnation.
It's really reminding me of that scene in Game of Thrones, and sorry if this is spoiler alerts for anyone who hasn't watched Game of Thrones at this point, but it reminds me of that scene of where they're all in that room and Jon is becoming the King of the North, and all the people are standing up to pledge their allegiance, and they're singing King of the North, and Sansa, his sister, supports him in that. Literally, I feel like I cried when I first saw that episode. It was literally like the best journey to watch a character go through and to see him come into his full power. But the point of why I'm bringing this up, the point of why they're bringing this through as an example, is because there is no shirking of duties and responsibility as a Regulus Starseed. You are not going to shy away from the power. You may have a moment where you question, is this for me? Am I really the one to bring this forward? But it's really something that's inherently instilled in you, that you are enough and you are the person for XYZ. So there is no shying away from standing in one's power as a Regulus Starseed. And if you're a Regulus Starseed who is feeling very powerless, then there is some misalignment with your cosmic DNA that is currently going on in your lifetime.
And that can be purposeful, right? As we just talked about, it may be something where they want you to call forward that aspect that's within your DNA, and they strategically designed your path for that. But the question is, what is in your way? What is stopping you from finding that? What is stopping you from stepping forward into your power, into your voice, into pure conviction for your beliefs and the collective? There's something to do with Regulus Star beings and this concept of how they feel towards a collective group. I feel like that's that leadership quality coming through, but it's very obvious to me that, like, with this concept of leadership and honor, they do it for the group. It's not a negative polarity where we see like self serving, it's more towards a positive polarity of doing it for the others. And it's just this like ability to rally a group to a certain viewpoint, or like their motivation with a group is very, very powerful, I think.
And just to compare this to Lyran starseeds and Lyran beings are very lion like. They get that feline energy to them, and they are natural born leaders, but they also carry that warrior archetype energy. But a Regulus Star being and Starseed, they don't feel warrior driven. They
Mm-mm.
remind me more, I know this is going to sound strange, but it reminds me more of like a knight. But it's not a knight in a sense of like, I'm your soldier and will do everything, like warriors go to the war. It's not like your Braveheart speech. It's more of like standing up, but standing up with honor. And there's like a code of ethics in which they live by and abide by in their daily routine and lives.
I agree. It's not the warrior that's going to fight the fight, or even be stubborn. Like, I think on the Lyran, when we look at Lyran starseeds, we will see more stubbornness at times because their leadership and their commitment is like, I know the best way to do this. I'm going to do it my way. You will all see. It's almost like Lyrans will do, ask forgiveness later. Versus like the contrast I feel on a Regulus Starseed level is it's not stubbornness, but it's almost like they will find a different solution. Like if it's not going to succeed in the way that they thought, they're going to try and try again and again and again in multiple different ways until they succeed in the way they're supposed to.
It's a little more like creative and innovative in how they approach things. It's not necessarily the same as being strategic. It's more of getting themselves thinking out of it's more about thinking outside the box with a regular starseed, but there's places for both of those techniques, right? Like
Yes.
we know that there's a Lyran that's going to be better at leading certain type of thing, whereas a Regulus might be better at leading this type of change. So there's like places for all of these different star beings and how they approach life and decision making and growth edges.
Yeah, and it's exactly what you said. It's really not strategy. It's actually like solution driven thought processes versus on the Lyran side, Lyrans are usually more of like, I know the way and I'm doing it my way. And so I just bring up that contrast because I think you can feel the difference of those energetically between the two types of beings.
Exactly, but it's really an undercurrent to that honor and valor that they
Yes.
carry with themselves. I mean, they think very highly of themselves, not in an egotistical way,
No, no.
but in a very honorable way of like, this is what my code is and this is what I follow. They aren't judgmental though. I do want to add that. They aren't like judgmental of those that aren't following the same code of ethics, but it's just how they express it in their lives. Staying true to their values is very important as a regular starseed on Earth. They are not going to dishevel themselves or fit themselves into a box or try to let someone overtake their values and beliefs.
You bring up a good point about the astrology side of things, especially when we look at it through the lens of like a Leo sun, where there's all these things online where you see like Leo suns fall into this like stereotyped category of they want to be the center of attention. They can like suck the air out of the room because they become the center of attention. And like there's this element of description that comes with Leo suns that I think feels very egotistical at times. And I don't think that's an accurate representation of Leos. I can say that being a Leo, Lacey being a Leo, granted, you know, the placement and what house your sun falls in can also impact how those Leo qualities manifest, I think. But with a Regulus star seed, it's not ego at all. It's purely just I believe in myself. I'm convicted in what I believe, and I'm good. Like I'm not worried what anyone else is thinking. I'm good. That's how it comes through. And so it's very much free of this judgment of self, I feel, or worrying what others are thinking about them.
Just like a Leo, they do exude this magnetic energy field that becomes quite contagious when you're in the presence of a regular starseed. What I mean by that is it reflects this magnetic, courageous, bold energy that's incredibly authentic. It's the same thing that a true Leo sun can do as well. A true, conscious, balanced Leo sun is going to be able to magnetize you and make you feel special and make you feel bold and tied to your most authentic self and be able to express that openly, because that's one of the gifts I think that a Leo has, is being able to express themselves very openly. It's not performative. It's not for attention, the same way as a regular starseed is. It's not performative, it's not for attention, they just have a commanding presence. And when you're in that energy, it's magnetic and you have no choice but to express yourself as authentically as possible.
Yes, it is definitely a way of like seeing you and being seen. It's like you're the only girl in the room. That's what's coming through, at least, and how they say it.
Regulus Starseeds also have this bold energy in how they show up and how they demand presence and energy. But I do think they can struggle if they are not being seen as their authentic self. And what I mean by that is I think it can come off sort of resentful, or I don't want to say performative. It's not like they perform to be seen, but I think they might try harder to be seen if they're not getting that.
Ooh, yep. A Regulus Starseed does not want to effort too hard. And so, what I mean by this is they're going to put in the hard work, take action, value their integrity, of course, but they should not have to put in that much work to make you fucking see them for what they are. That's how I say it. Like, a Regulus Starseed is so secure in their identity that it's like, if you don't see it, it's your loss. It's kind of like you're only going to keep them interested so long. They're not going to be like the court jester doing a little dance, putting on the show for you. And I think that actually speaks to, like, you don't want them to. It speaks to, like, how they are when they're under somebody else's reign or leadership, I think. Like, they have to feel like they have space to lead in their own way. So whatever role they're serving in a human incarnation, they need to have space to have some ownership and control, for lack of a better phrase, uh, and an ability to lead through whatever it is that they're doing in that role.
There's such a medieval vibe.
There is.
I feel like everything we're talking about with regular star seeds and star beings is all about like this medieval vibe. You feel like you're in the king's court and they're like the king that you're sitting with, and but I think this regal royalty vibe is part of how they carry themselves as well, because it's like we're the gems
And we're born with it.
and nobody needs to make us work for it because we're natural at this.
The other thing they bring through is this comparison to, like, different leaders I've experienced in my lifetime, especially in, like, a professional setting. And a Regulus Star Seed is the kind of leader where, like, as somebody under them or following them, so to speak, it's like this comfort of, if so and so's here, everything's going to be fine. Like, as long as I have so and so in this position, I'm going to feel secure as a follower or as a whatever it is in my role in this team and what I'm doing. It makes you feel very comfortable and secure because they just have this presence about them that is like, it's that solution driven presence of, like, no matter what happens, they're going to make the solution, they're going to find it, and you don't need to worry, like, as long as they're in a position of power.
Digging into one of their growth edges now, I'm getting this sense here that they can struggle a little bit with vulnerability. And what I mean by that is sometimes they view vulnerability as more of a weakness rather than a strength. So it can be harder to maybe get closer to them, confide in them, have them confide in you. Trust is the big key here. They need to have full trust in you in order to show their vulnerability, because they exude such outward strength as part of how they lead and show up in their everyday lives. They also need the right support systems behind the scenes to be able to have that trust and vulnerability. So, one of their growth edges really is understanding that their vulnerability is not a weakness, but something that is to be celebrated that helps make them stronger.
It's hard for them. I think this speaks to that. When they're at the dinner table and no one else is around, how are they going to act in that role? When they're, I don't know, in their bedroom having a conversation with a family member or somebody close to them, how are they going to act? And that vulnerability, like, finding that, but not allowing their leadership to overtake them in every role or every relationship they're in, I think is hard for them. And that's where, like, we don't outwardly see that. You have to be inside that Regulus Starseed's inner world and a part of that, I think, to be able to see that side of them and that aspect of them.
Absolutely, that's just how they navigate their world, essentially.
So even as we talk about this growth edge with vulnerability and what goes on behind closed doors, they're not insecure about it, I would say. It's almost just, like, foreign to them and uncomfortable to them of, well, like, what do you mean you want me to share more about what I'm feeling. What do you mean you want me to do this or do that?
I think sharing their emotions too isn't always easy because they're so used to being the rock.
Put together.
The rock for everyone too. It's reminding me a little bit of okay, what's the Brad Pitt movie with the fly fishing?
Oh my gosh, A River Runs Through
A
It.
river runs through it. So it's reminding why is it reminding me of that
Phenomenal movie.
movie?
It's funny you bring that up. Just the other day, that movie popped into my head as well.
I haven't seen that
Fascinating.
movie in like years.
Such a good movie.
I don't know why that's reminding me of it though. Isn't there a sibling dynamic in that movie?
Yes, but also I will just add in, like, I crush Brad Pitt trivia. So I'm just saying I really come in clutch in trivia teams when it comes to Brad Pitt movies.
I think for some reason I'm having the visual of a river runs through it, but I think I'm also thinking Legends of the Falls, where it's like the rock, Tristan the rock that everyone um crashes against, needs to serve them and help them through whatever they are going through. It reminds me of that movie as well.
Oh my god, the image they're giving me right now. Why did this now another movie here? This just so okay, if
Yes.
you've never watched The Princess Bride, which was one of our favorite movies growing up. Yes, we had a whole spectrum of interest in movies, from Sing Elmo's Fire to like Lost Boys, but Princess Bride was one of our favorites. Like that is a Regulus Starseed right there.
Absolutely. That's a really good example too in that movie because it has that like old school medieval vibe.
Yes.
And you're like, what's happening here?
There really is something medieval going on here.
The energy of it, I feel like maybe that's a thing though. Like as we're digging into this, Regulus Starseeds being drawn to more of those medieval fantasy worlds and time periods, that would not surprise me the least bit because it's more of those traditional values
Yes.
of honor and taking control. It reminds me of when they go to save her in Princess Bride, where they're like in the castle fighting, and then she like jumps out the window and there's like the white horses and stuff. Yeah, I don't know why that imagery is coming to mind.
All of a sudden, like as you're talking about, you're like, I don't know why I see Legends of the Fall, A River Runs Through It. I love these. I love when they do this.
And the Brad Pitt of it all, like I feel like he's played a couple of these characters.
Yes, he has. So he's not in Princess Bride, for those of you who are less familiar with these movies. Brad Pitt is in Legends of the Fall and A River Runs Through It, but there still is a family dynamic to those Brad Pitt movies that I think you see these traditional family roles at play, and there's usually like one steady person that can be relied on in those group structures, in those family settings. And it's that concept of being the rock and being the steady one, being the natural leader that everyone looks to find the solution, to fix the problems. And I, they struggle with the vulnerability, though, right? They struggle with it because they're doing a lot. They have a very important role. And I think that it's easy for others to put the burden on them, for lack of a better way to say it.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Especially as we talk about this Regulus Starseed and we talk about how they show up in their everyday lives, how they can develop these incarnations where it's very different than being the caretaker, though. That's the other thing coming through that I wanna
Yes,
bring through.
very different.
It's taking care of people, but it's in a different sense. It's not like a nurturing taking care, it's more of like financial care and security.
So the example they bring through right now is actually Peaky Blinders. Tommy Shelby. He's a great example of he cares deeply for his family and friends, but he's also very hardened. He's a natural leader. Everyone looks to him to find the solution and solve the problems, but he's not overtly caring or nurturing. Like it's a very different energy from a leadership perspective.
Definitely a great example of another leadership quality that they bring through. The other thing I was going to discuss with you was the Regulus Starseeds and how working with them is really great for bolstering up your courage, your creativity, your leadership with projects, because it's very much like their birthright to do whatever they desire. And what I mean by that is how they're saying it is whatever dream you are dreaming, whatever desire you are longing for and trying to create, that is your birthright. And so, like, that's the message that they are bringing through for their star seeds and for other star seeds listening, really. They want you to feel empowered to go after whatever it is you're desiring in your life. and make it happen.
It's an energetic embodiment of the mantra, I am the one. That's how it feels. And so channeling them, connecting with them in regards to maybe when you're speaking to a group, maybe when you're doing a virtual event that you're a little bit feeling insecure going into or feeling scared to share about your experiences in it. They show it as like doing it before a big presentation in front of people, doing it when you're gonna go do a business pitch. Like they just show this as this is how you can work with us to find your conviction and find that inner knowing of I am the one.
Oh man, the energy of a Regulus Starseed. It's fantastic and it's a great amplifier as well. But I was gonna say these star beings are just they're characters. They're fun, right?
I want to bring through this other piece that, we talked a little bit about them looking like lions and these different colors, but there's also this natural piece of like heroism is the best way I can say it, where like they show us the visual of them wearing like almost like a superhero suit. And I feel like that's almost like an energy they bring forward as well. It's not like a savior, but it's like you look to that person as a North Star. So there's this like analogy being made of like the North Star and following your North Star. And like that's kind of like it's almost like that's the analogy of what they are, who they are, and how they show up in this world.
Absolutely, and that's probably why they brought through Jon Snow, right? King of the North, that kind of
Yes.
North Star vibe. It is quite leadership and guidance focused, so I do think that regular star seeds on Earth would be more likely, obviously, to be in leadership positions like we've talked about. But I also think those guidance positions, like they're a guide for others, whether that be in a traditional 3D position, whether it be in a very public position, I do get the sense that they are more public figures.
Me too.
Like more public figures are going to be Regulus star seeds than not because a Regulus star being is very comfortable with recognition. So their star seeds are comfortable with public recognition. They're comfortable landing the TV show, the music gig, the hosting job. They're going to be out in public. It's what they thrive in. And there's nothing to be ashamed of with that. The message coming through is really about having the audacity to want the thing and to go after the desire. It's like, oh my gosh, who does she think she is to want that? And the regular star being is like, damn right she's going to go get that because she deserves that and she's going to make it happen. So it's really helping you with pursuing your dreams, but also having the audacity to do it in the open and to be recognized for it.
Yes, absolutely. That is really the essence of a regular starseed right there and how they can find that and move with that. I also feel like we see them in a lot of like you said, Lacey, leadership positions, but even on like a corporate level, I think that they fit really easily into like executive roles or like C-suite roles. And I think like the best companies that probably have the best culture are going to have a regular starseed towards the top. That's how I feel. Now I know that that maybe sounds opinionated because I'm a Leo sun. It maybe sounds opinionated too because let's be honest, regular star seeds are on that positive side of the polarity spectrum, and we all know that negative polarities easily can take on leadership roles. But I just think they would have a really great culture to them and how they approach the workplace in a team setting.
I think that's very probable. I also feel like they have to be the boss bitch, the CEO, the CFO, the one in charge, the one calling the shots, because they're not meant to play small and they're not meant to be followers. It's not that they're going to be bad at being a follower, but a regular starseed on Earth that's in more of a follower position is probably going to feel somewhat misaligned and out of balance all the time if they're never actually leading themselves through something.
I'd agree with that. And I think that speaks to like earlier when I said that if they're going to be like under someone, so to speak, or reporting to someone or in like a subordinate type role, they actually have to have some creative freedom to like lead in some way, whether it's leading a project, leading a team, leading an initiative, something where they're still getting some control over like leadership abilities.
It reminds me of when we were talking about Princess Bride, he would be like, as you wish. And it reminds me of like he was still serving her and whatever she desired and wished, but he was still in like that leadership position of protecting her. And you see that later in the movie, right?
Yes, I agree.
Absolutely amazing energy, so royal and so regal. I am obsessed, and I think I can attest to the fact that as a Leo sun, we don't find the camera finds us.
Yes. They're actually an addicting energy, I feel like. And maybe that's just a Leo thing, I don't know, but they feel quite like addicting in the sense of like once you kind of capture that feeling of knowing and I am the one and the conviction and the authority, it's like so empowering that it makes it you don't want to let it go, right? You want to I guess that just speaks to how much they can help you, I think, when you channel with them and work with them a little bit more consciously.
There's literally infinite possibilities when working with them, and there is an unlimited pool of potential when you tap into their energy. Because anything that they set their mind to, a regular starseed is going to do. And if you are ever feeling unmotivated, stuck, not sure where to go, a Regulus Star being calling on them for guidance, they are going to be able to motivate you in some way, shape, or form. Because it is like leadership to the nth degree, and it is like wildly ambitious, driven energy as well. Like they're going to make the shit happen, and they're not going to let other people get in their way. And it's like the thing you talked about earlier, Marley, with solutions too. They're going to find the right solution.
They are, it's that North Star analogy. Regulus star beings. They're a North Star. They will help you find your way out of anything. And whether that's something bad or whether that's something good, they are going to find the solution.
So I want to circle back to that example they brought through about a river runs through it, just because obviously this is full circle. But you heard me saying, I don't know why they're bringing this up, but that's the movie cover I'm seeing, and it's been a long time since I've seen it. But I think that it's getting at this nature of a regular starseed and how, and it's like the savior complex almost.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I would call it a savior complex. I feel like what it is showing us is it's showing us another growth edge on their path. So in this movie, I know we talked about it explores family dynamics, but it's these two brothers. One of them is very much steady and stable. The other one's a little bit more reckless and wild. And I don't want to give too much away of the plot, but the older brother is this stable leader one. He holds down the fort. He's always there. He finds the solutions. He'll help anyone through what they need to be helped through. And I think it's this concept of, the moral of that story being that you can't save everyone. It's almost like as you are leading people through things and you're finding solutions, there's always free will. And I think as a regular star seed, because they can see the path ahead so clearly and they can see the solution so clearly, it's difficult for them if somebody's not going to heed that or follow that direction. And so I think that's what's being brought through maybe with this comparison to A River Runs Through It and the story being told there.
Well, the other thing I want to add too is that it's like seeing potential in someone,
Mm.
and let's not fall into the trap of how you see the potential in someone. And what I mean by that is the trap of this is that you can't like change their life course. Like you can maybe influence them, you can maybe tell them how you feel about them, care about them, what you see them doing, but you can't necessarily change what's going to happen. And I think that that's one of the traps you can fall into as a regular starseed is seeing someone's highest potential and trying to get them to see it too, but they have their own path and it might not be to fully bring their highest potential to fruition either. So I think that's what I mean with that like savior hero complex analogy too.
I agree. There is actually this quality of seeing that in people. So as much as we talk about channeling them and being able to call on them to help you find that conviction, find that I am the one energy as we call it, they see that in everybody. And I think that's such a beautiful quality to have. They have to remember that they can lead as much as possible and guide as much as possible, but ultimately it's on the individual to make their final determination of their path and their own decisions.
But it really speaks to the emotional range of a regular starseed because they do see the value in every single person and the role they play as a leader, right? They're not looking at it like I'm better than you and I'm the one
Yes.
leading everyone. They're very much like they understand everyone's role and how everyone has a place, and they deeply value and cherish that. So, as leaders, they are not egoic and they are not looking at anything as being better than anyone else.
No, they're not as weird as this sounds, it's not hierarchy based. And I know that's crazy because we're making comparisons to like royal and regalness, and if that's even a word, and like this medieval concept, right? Because automatically there's like a hierarchy and a structure in place on those. But I think that's really what makes them magnetic as a follower or as a subordinate. Like you want to work with them because of that nature to them, and it's this balanced and integrated quality to them energetically. So it doesn't come across like I'm better than you. It comes across like we're all working together and I'm just in this role, right? And so it's that the balance and integration I think is what makes it so addicting being like under that structure, under that leadership.
Absolutely. And I think they're just a very powerful star being for you to work with whatever leadership you need, whatever self confidence you need, when you need courage, when you need the motivation. Like we mentioned earlier, that is going to be what a Regulus star being is there for.
Absolutely. So call on them the next time you need to remember your conviction, your authority, and what you're doing and how you're showing up. They will remind you of who you are, what you came here to do, and they will guide you through the process, lead you through it just like they were born to do. If you're a Regulus Starseed, make sure you let us know in the comments. You can also join us and a bunch of other Starseeds in the Starseed Portal membership, which is a beautiful community space of women who are all exploring their Starseed awakenings, their origins, their missions, learning how to understand different star beings and their own blueprint for this Earthian incarnation.
We will see you all next time.